And we have what are called 10 non-virtues. And then maybe you can try and find the 10 virtues. So these are actions of body, speech and mind motivated by a delusion. So you don't do negative actions unless there's a delusion involved. And the basic delusion is this attachment to the self, the grasping to the self, wanting the self to be happy. Okay, this is the basic motivator underlying all delusions. And then from that we can say desire, attachment, anger, hatred, all the other manifest. But from the very basic delusion, I want myself to be happy, I'm attached to myself, that's the root delusion. So I'll give you what we call 10 negative behaviors. There's 3 of body. So they're classified as body, speech and mind. So 3 of body: killing, stealing and sexual misconduct. And sexual misconduct is, the basic definition is adultery. Getting into a relationship with somebody who's already in a relationship, and particularly if there's children involved. Because His Holiness says, if you have an affair, a relationship with somebody who's in a relationship with children, the potential is always to break up the relationship. And who gets harmed? The children. So most important is to protect the children. So we also asked His Holiness many, many years ago, I think maybe 1990, we asked the Dalai Lama, with his great experience of this, of which is 0, we asked him, because the group wanted to know, it was a group of Westerners. So if you have a couple, and then another couple, and they decide to swap partners, and there's no children involved, is that sexual misconduct? So this is what they wanted to know. And His Holiness said, if everybody agrees, it's not sexual misconduct. So if you have 4 people, and everyone agrees, and there's no children, it's not sexual misconduct. See how flexible we are? You know? But my question is, yeah, you can say, oh, it's all right, yeah, you can go and do it, but could you really live with it? Without any jealousy, without any feeling of, is the other person better than me? I think it would be extremely difficult. Yeah. So I think from that point of view, maybe some problems would start to appear. But if there's a relationship and you involve yourself in that relationship and they have children, the danger is always that the relationship is going to break up. So from that point of view, we talk about sexual misconduct and harming others. Killing is basically human beings, but also can be killing ants, mosquitoes, beings like that. And this is again about protecting the lives of others, wanting others to be happy. So when you're building a house or when you're putting pipelines down or whatever, to try and do the least possible harm to the environment. Because it's now been found that every being seems to have a relationship with the other. When some beings are disappearing, you know, some species are disappearing, it creates problems amongst the other species. So it's just to have a respect for all of them, whether you like how they look or not. Like many people don't like cockroaches, spiders, like this, you know? So this is your discrimination. You don't like it, but it doesn't mean you have to kill them. So killing, stealing, and also you can say cheating, you know? So stealing, cheating, how do you feel about it? Do you think that it's something beneficial? Do you want to do it? Does the company want to do it? You have to check these things for yourself. But basically, when you do it, it's done back to you. Okay, this is what you have to think. When you do it, when you practice stealing, then there's always the possibility of your things being stolen. So when your things are being stolen, how do you feel? You don't say, oh, whoopee, this is great. You know, I have less things now, right? You go home, the house is empty. You don't think, oh, this is wonderful, you know? You think, my things, isn't it? You have attachment for your things. So in the same way, others have attachment for theirs. So this comes back to, are you protecting others' possessions or are you taking others' possessions? Which is your principle? And then killing, are you protecting others' lives or are you taking others' lives? Whatever the being is, from ants up. Sexual misconduct, in the sense of, are you protecting others' relationships? And when you do, you protect your own relationships. What comes back is that it's very difficult to separate you from your relationships. You're able to stay in a relationship for a long time. So they're the three of body. Is it clear? Yeah? And then speech. We have lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and gossip. So again, you have to check with lying. What's the line? Because many people say to me, well, I tell what are called white lies. You know, white lies make other people happy. So you have to check this one. Does it really make others happy when you tell white lies? Or are you developing the habit of telling lies? So, yeah, you can say, oh, you look lovely tonight. You know, when somebody doesn't. Do they know or not? I think they know. So then do they believe you the next time? These are all the things you have to check about white lies. It's not uncomplicated, it's definitely complicated. Because I know you want others to be happy, right? So do they always believe you afterwards when you're telling these lies? Not sure. So there's this sense of people being able to rely on what you say is the truth. They should be able to rely on it, right? And then the next one is divisive speech. It's using your speech to divide people who have a relationship. You're trying to divide people who have a relationship. You may or may not know they have a relationship, but you want to divide. And it can be workers in the office, a team, two friends, a relationship, a company, a monastery. You know, it can be any group of people from 2 up to 1,000, 10,000. It doesn't matter. But what you're doing is you're using your speech to break the place into 2 or more groups. And this used to be a very popular management method called divide and conquer, right? And every boss I worked for seemed to really enjoy this method. So I was the boss, and whenever I became friendly with people in the office, they disappeared. So they had to go, because my bosses would think, this is the right thing to do. You become friendly, they go. They replace them, you become friendly, they go. So divisive talk is somehow turning groups into enemies and then turning them against each other. And this is very dangerous. And what happens is that then you are divided. What comes back? You're divided from your relationships, you're separated from your friends, and that's not what you want. You want to stay together with your group, whatever the group is, but this divisive talk sets you up for the boomerang that comes back that divides you. Right? So don't do it. If you don't like it, don't do it. Harsh speech is defined as something that you would say which hurts somebody else. Something that you say that hurts somebody else. I think harsh speech is not so difficult to understand, is it? I think on TV it seems to be mostly harsh speech these days. Effing this and, you know. So it's words that you use which inflict harm. They hurt the other person. And so as a consequence, what comes back to you is that others want to harm you. You're harmful, they want to harm you back. And then the last one, idle gossip, I think very easy to understand. Just blah, 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 and it can go on for hours. And you can talk about politics, and you can talk about football, you can talk about cricket, and blah, blah, blah. But often what it leads to is negative speech. So when you're practicing idle gossip, then think, I mustn't allow this to turn into something negative. Because often over time, it starts to be, and then did you see blah, blah, and what they did? And then you start picking on individuals, or you start criticizing others. You start coming together as a negative group. So be very careful of gossip turning into negative gossip. It's just basically a waste of time. But it can start as idle gossip, and then it could turn into the opposite, which is meaningful talk. Something meaningful. So I think you can't walk up to people and say, hi, what do you think about, Tolstoy or something like this? You can't start conversations like that. So you tend to start with the weather, how's the family, this sort of thing. But then be careful it just doesn't go on and on and on with meaningless gossip. It's words that don't have a meaning. Not sure whether it can eat me or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I should give you a definition of the next one because it's a little bit difficult. It's covetousness. Yeah, the covetousness. Covetousness is when you see something that somebody else has and you want it. You see something that somebody else has and you want it. Similar, stronger than envy, but similar in that it's an action of the mind. It's not happening physically. It's an action of the mind. So, for instance, you see this bowl. You look at this bowl, and your mind says, "Oh, I really like that bowl." But you're not thinking, "I'd like to make the money to buy it." You're not thinking, "I'm going to work for it." You're thinking, the decision is, how do I get it? This is what leads to stealing. So it's the desire attachment mind leading you to think, I want that object, but I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to take it. Okay? So it's a negative state of mind that covets, values qualities or objects that are not yours, that are others. So this one, in a way, is not so difficult to do. You could be walking through a supermarket and coveting, but when it becomes negative is when you make a decision, the way of getting the other's possessions for yourself. This is when you finalize covetousness, is when you make a decision how you're going to get it. Right? But you haven't done anything. It's only happening in the mind. You've seen the object, you've decided you really like it, you really want it, and the finishing, the last part of covetousness is, this is how I'm going to get it, but you haven't done anything. It's all happening within the mind. So it creates great dissatisfaction, because when your mind is coveting, it's always looking at what others have, and then creates a dissatisfied mind? Why do they have that car? Why do they have that relationship? Why do they have that job? Why do they have whatever they have? You're looking with a dissatisfied mind and thinking, I should have it, and how can I get it? You know? I'm going to do something about this. So the danger is if you're working with others and then somebody's coveting your job. Right? Imagine somebody wants your job. And so they start doing things in order to take away your job. Where this would come from is desire and attachment for the job, for the status, and then they start working with covetousness in order to take away your job, and then it would come to cheating, stealing, lying, the other things. But you've only started with a thought, just a dissatisfied thought, I'm not happy. I want that. And then that will make me happy. Okay? So that's covetousness. The next one is malice. M-A-L-I-C-E, malice. It can also be called ill will. Ill will. And it's the definition is the object is a living being who would be hurt if your harmful thoughts were acted out. So you're having harmful thoughts, and if those harmful thoughts that you're having towards somebody else were acted out, if you actually did it, the other person would be hurt. But again, you haven't done anything. It's just a thought. And so often we have these negative thoughts, and then we think, well, I'm so happy that person doesn't know. You know, I got away with it. But in actual fact, it's making a habitual situation where you can have more negative thoughts. Then the next one is wrong views. So this is when you don't understand something, and because you don't understand it, you then reject it and say it's wrong. So one wrong view would be if we say you shouldn't steal. Say you shouldn't steal from the company, and then you say, well, I don't believe in that. I think it's not bad. You know, I think that doing my emails, I don't know what the company believes, but doing my emails and using the postage is not stealing. Or taking the pens is not stealing. Or using the photocopier is not stealing. Whatever it is. You make a justification for it by promoting the wrong view. By saying there's no consequence. It's not a problem. It's okay. So you're convincing yourself out of the right view into the wrong view. And then that means it can harm all the other views. Because by having wrong view, you can then promote killing, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct. You can promote all the others, because with the wrong view, you start to say, well, it's not so bad. You know, if I kill that general manager, I think it's not so bad, you know, because nobody likes him. Okay, stealing. If I take €1 million, well, they've got so much, they're not going to miss it. I mean, I'm giving you ridiculous extremes, right? But you understand what I'm saying, because the mind goes to ridiculous extremes and says, I think it's okay. When you have a moral line and you break it slightly, I'll just cross it a little bit and then come back, what you actually do is make it possible for you to break everything. Because once you've broken a little thing, like the 31st of December, we have the list and we say, oh, chocolate, blah, 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 blah. And we say, just a little bit of chocolate's okay. You break your vow, I'm not going to do these things, and then all the other things get broken. In the same way, when you say, I don't want to kill, steal, lie, killing these small insects can open you up to bigger things. Stealing a little bit can open you up to stealing even more. Lying, small lies, can end up much bigger lies. You cross that small line, then anything becomes possible. And so, in business particularly, we need to have a decision about morality, isn't it? How can we trust each other? How can we behave towards each other to have that sense of trust and belief, not to harm each other, but also not to harm outside, because outside is our family, our friends. And so we want to be able to trust in that. And so the company has a morality, individuals have a morality, society has a morality, and how does it all fit together? How does it mesh? Yeah? I don't know. I'm just asking you.